Good afternoon, folks. It is August the 25th. It is a little after 1 p.m. here in sunny Florida. I am Dave Thompson. I am the director of the Academy of Cleaning Excellence. There's three words on which I focus each and every Friday afternoon. Those three words remain the same: healthy, positive, and proactive. Today, my guest is going to join me to talk about custodians. They're working to become professionals in their field. And we're not just talking about the person that cleans the toilet or sweeps the floor. These are more valuable than that. So let's welcome to the show Michael Ward. Michael, are you with me?
Yes, how you doing, Dave? Thanks for having me.
So, I made a blunder before we got on the air. You're not from California, you're from Colorado.
Amen. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos. I lived some of my life in Sedgwick, Colorado, so a little bit of history for folks here.
Cool.
So anyway, you have a history here, and you're here to tell us a little bit about being professional in the custodial arena. So let our audience know your background and why we're listening today.
Well, Dave, I've worked in public schools for nearly 30 years at all levels of custodial work. I've been a custodian. I've been an assistant head custodian, a union president, a head custodian, a department manager, you name it, I've done it. And it's been my passion through those years to help people. And custodians are the best people in the world to help. And what I'm trying to help them do is to conduct themselves in a professional manner. And I want them to get away from that stereotype of being looked at as the stupid janitor, or you're just the janitor, that kind of thing. So I want them to be a professional member of the staff. And kind of what the deal is for me is, through my career, I've learned that not many people are teaching our people how to do just that. So currently I work for Aurora Public Schools in Colorado. We're the third largest school district in the state. So for about 15 years, however, I've been teaching some classes called Custodial 101, which is a basic class on how to conduct yourself and how to actually do the custodial work. But then I have a leadership academy, much like yours, I believe, that where we teach people how to use methods and resources to grow themselves and become leaders. And again, I'm just trying to get people to overcome that stereotype of just being the janitor, because there's so many more opportunities in education, and there's so much more we can offer than just cleaning the toilets.
Right, you're absolutely right. I mean, we need to do this and help people with the resources. And I think, as you just said, we both do this. So what are some of the methods you use?
Well, I'll tell you, we actually, again, we have classes, we have resources. So a lot of the things I use, I've developed for custodians. So just to name a few, the Custodial 101 class, again, is just to teach them what to do and how to do it. But the thing of it is, Dave, is in my experience, when I started out, I learned that custodians aren't always respected. So I started out as a custodial aide, then I worked my way into a custodial position when I got out of high school, and there would be teachers that wouldn't even speak to me. And I thought, why is that? What's going on here? Is it my job? What is it? And then from there, of course, I grew and I moved up. I became, like I said, a union president and a supervisor in that. And then I started asking myself, why are we disciplining people for some of these things? Who taught them how to act and react in these situations? So, school districts do a decent job of training them how to do custodial work, but I don't think they do a very good job teaching them how to be professional and how to react. So some of the things that we teach in my classes is, how do you deal with that angry parent? How do you interact with the teaching staff? What do you do in a shift change meeting? We spend time teaching them how to write professional emails. Nothing makes you look more like a stupid janitor than to send an email to a teacher and it looks like a second grader wrote it. We talk about school shootings. We talk about controlling your principal instead of having them control you. Working with different personality types, such as the blameless one, the helpless one, and how to deal with gossip. I always tell people, I don't care where you worked in your world or in your life, there's no bigger rumor mill than a school district, and you've got to know how to handle those situations to remain professional.
Well, I think there's probably some people in the audience that might challenge that last statement about the rumor mill, but I can guarantee you what, it feels sometimes like everybody has their nose in your business more than you do, and that's where we need to be careful. And I do agree with the statement you made about, you know what, we need to check these emails before we send them out. It's like read twice before you send. And I think that's good. I think that you hit on a number of things. I know we're going to talk more about that as we go through it. But, you know, that's why I have this show. And I'm so glad to hear you talk about this and that you're doing it. You know, I'm not the only one. The Academy here in Florida, we're not the only ones. And it's so great to hear that, because we need to bring value to the workplace. We are valuable. We are important. But I think your message is we have to act like one.
That's right. And, you know, one of the things that I preach and I write in my books is how to be a rock star leader and how to be a rock star custodian. So me personally, I believe that every great leader, whether it's custodial or the CEO of a company, has two attributes, and that is they are extremely organized and they have a great attitude. You know, they're always looking at the positive of things. And, you know, those are things that there's hundreds of books on and training classes and those things. But I would argue that those are a decision. Unlike if I teach you how to strip and refinish a floor, you know, that's an action. This is a choice. So that's something that you really can't train somebody. But man, when you find a head custodian or a department head or even a night custodian. So to me, leadership is not a position, it's an action. So you can be the night custodian and be a tremendous leader for your building.
I think, you know, folks, I didn't coach him on this, but I think that he made a statement, you know, positive, and that's an attitude. That's one of my 3 words. I appreciate you hitting that one there for me, Michael. You know, because here at the Academy, we understand that this isn't about teaching. This is about coaching people to change their mindset, to change what they're doing, and then recognize where they're at and build on that. And I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we go back to controlling the principal instead of the principal controlling you, you know, let's say it's April and summer break cleaning begins at the end of May. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get together a nice map of the building. I'm going to color code it, and I'm going to say week 1 we're going to clean this area of the building, week 2 we're going to clean this area of the building, so forth and so on. And then I'm going to follow that up with an actual calendar where it says John is going to clean room 102, Sally's going to clean room 103, so forth and so on. And then I'm going to set up a meeting with that secretary of the building and that principal and review that with them. And I'm going to drive that conversation. I'm not going to let them tell me how to do summer cleaning. I'm going to show them how we're going to do it. And they might say, hey, you know, for your week 1 or week 2, we've got a summer camp in that area. No problem. I'll switch week 5 with week 1. You know, something like that. But again, I'm controlling the situation. Something else I used to do is I used to provide a custodial checklist of safety things that needed to be done, like checking exit lights, emergency lights, those types of things. And it just wasn't getting done. I was getting less than 50% of my people doing something that is very important, is keeping our kids safe. Right. So what I did is I actually created a fun little custodial calendar, took those exact same tasks and put them on the calendar, added some cartoon characters, and now it's not a job. Now it's, oh, what's my fun task of the day? Now when I see a cartoon of a kid playing on the playground, maybe I don't have a bad attitude or look at it negatively that I've got to go check the playground that day. So we use tools like that.
I think it was really interesting when I looked at this calendar. You know, at first glance, I just saw all these things on there and started really looking at it carefully, Michael, and I'm like, wow, you know, I mean, I made calendars, we made some things, but we never put this much thought into it. And I think you're absolutely right. You know, that teacher for the whole year, that's her room or that's his room. And I guarantee you, it's a sacred place and they do feel that they can tell you what to do. But when you communicate with them this way, I'm sure that this is changing the whole thing. And the other thing is, and we're going to show this here in just a minute, I've never seen, in all of the years I've worked in education, I've never seen a letter from the custodian to the teacher. This is something new for me. Now, this has got to be communication on a first level.
Yeah, and so you haven't met any of the Aurora Public Schools custodians, I guess, is what you're saying, right?
Well, yeah. Hey, I tell you, Michael, whenever I was in school in Colorado, I was clear on the east side, and you're over there on the mountainside. I wasn't there, so I mean, hey, you and I weren't probably doing this at that time when I was in school there.
Yeah. So, you know, Dave, they're a great tool. And again, they're designed for 2 reasons. They're for communication naturally, but they're more, for me, it's more of, we're professionals and we need you to understand that. So I'm not sure what you're showing on the screen, but I will say.
We're showing your letters there. The letter, the intro letter, or I'm sorry, the exit letter at the end of the school year.
Okay. Yeah. So what that basically is a nice little checklist of what a teacher can do to help us do our jobs better, and more importantly, do it safely. So one of the things that's in that letter, and I memorized this line because I love this line, and it says, and when you go to move things, a good rule of thumb is, or no, I'm sorry, I messed up. When packing boxes, a good rule of thumb is, if it's too heavy for you to lift, it's too heavy for us to lift.
Oh,
so,
amen to that one.
Yeah, so we kind of try to tell them, that empty your file cabinets, those types of things, turn in your keys. You can change it up depending on your district. Some districts, custodians handle the keys, other districts, they don't. Right. But nonetheless, it's just a nice professional letter that thanks them for a great school year, tells them what they can do to help us do a better job for them. And then something else that we use in concert with that is an actual opportunity for the teacher to let us know what's broken in the room that maybe we didn't know. Maybe their blinds aren't working, or their pencil sharpener's broken, or whatever, and we can get that taken care of during the summer, get work orders placed and that kind of thing. But something else that we actually do is we put a checklist on the doors. And I started doing this when I was a head custodian. And again, I think a lot of the teachers think that we just throw some mop and glow on the floor and they come back and the floor is shiny, and that's all we do, and then we're off just like them, or we just sit on our butt all summer. But when
I you know what, I think teachers have a lot of different opinions, but when they come back at the end of the summer, they're getting ready to come in the fall. I mean, here again, I was surprised to see you've got a letter that you're talking to them from the custodian to the teacher, welcoming them back to their nice clean room.
Right. So they go back to their room. The first thing you're going to see, they're going to see that checklist of all the work that we did in the room. And then they're going to get a nice letter as they come back. And it's just us simply saying, this is who we are. Here's our team. We're happy to help you. Here's how to contact us. Here's the hours we work. And we want to be a part of the educational process.
Well, and I think this is, and you're leading right to the next thing I wanted to talk about, is this is communication. But as many years as I've worked in the educational field, my wife was working there. The thing is, the custodians that actually engaged in the school, and I'm not talking about just cleaning up after everybody. I'm talking actually engaged and was a part of it. I could tell you some stories, but you've got some of yours. Sure.
You've got to think, because here's the thing, Dave, those opportunities don't come to you. You have to go find them. Absolutely. So for example, if the school has a building council, for example, this is a great opportunity for custodians to get looked at as a professional member of the staff instead of just the custodian. So if I'm on the building council and my building has light blue and 1970s aqua paint on the walls in the classroom, maybe I might do a little bit of research on colors that stimulate learning, and maybe I find out that earth tone colors help test scores by 10 or 20%. I could present that at the building council meeting, and now people are saying, wow, this guy's actually helping us get better test scores.
And I think you're also talking about some of these councils actually have the students involved. They're not all just the adults, but that's where the people say, well, I couldn't be a part of that. Well, heck, the students are. Why can't you?
Right. And if you have a safety committee, be the lead coach for the recycle team or the student crossing guard program. I've had custodians do all kinds of cool things. I had one guy who was in the school play, had a small part, but he got involved. And then I had another guy that every year the science teachers asked him to teach the kids the mechanical functions of the building, and they actually did a whole week unit on that and gave the kids a test on it and the whole 9 yards. So he was more than just the janitor. In Ohio, when I was there, we always had Right to Read Week that the governor had the whole state do, and it was a great thing. And I made sure I took advantage of that opportunity and go in and read to the kindergartners and be a part of the school.
Well, I think you're right. This is the whole thing. There are people that are the drivers of what goes on. There are the people that just follow along. And so long in our industry, we've just been the followers. And this is why we've almost, and I hate to say it, folks, but we know this is true. We just don't say it. We've created our own problem by just following along and letting people trot over us. And you know what you're saying here is be professional, and there's a better way of going about this.
Yeah, and you have to take accountability, and you're exactly right. We are the problem. We've got to change that perception, and using these tools that I'm talking about changes that perception. I know that for a fact because everything I talk about or promote, I've done it. So I don't talk about anything unless I've done it, and I'm telling you, this stuff works. But if you don't do anything, you know, by failing to prepare, you prepare to fail. So you gotta, you know, have that attitude. And you know, the thing is that, you know, some of these, we've all heard custodians say, that's not my job, or I don't have time. Well, if you're the person that says, you know what, let me learn that, or let me do that, what happens is you're learning a new task that you can add to your resume, and you are going to get promoted if you have that right attitude and you take those opportunities to learn. You know, and never stop learning, because, you know, not only from an operational perspective, you know, with the custodial equipment and those types of things, but always network. You know, you're a great person to network with, Dave, and love what you're doing. But you know, there's all kinds of resources out there. There's ISSA, CMI. You know, I have a lot of information on my website that's free of charge. You can Google anything, and it'll help you in this field.
Well, and I think that's why we here at the Academy put this show together. This is why we do this every Friday, is to get people like yourself, Michael, and the people that you work with a platform to come and say, we do have positive things we do. We do know what we're doing. We are professional. There is a reason, and I think I love what you said about never stop learning. For some reason, we in this arena feel that once that we've become a custodian or a janitor, whatever you want to call me, that we don't need education anymore. But this is what education is. This is dealing with my mind so I can change my habits, because I can guarantee you we all have a habit. And folks, I'm going to tell you right now, what Michael and I are talking about isn't going to change overnight. It's slow to come. It is a process. I know I've been doing this for well over a decade. I don't know about you, Michael.
Yeah. Oh yeah, almost 3 now.
Almost 3. Well, and I think that's the thing is you know, my wife started working for Disney not too long ago, and she's working and she's seeing some of these families and these children come to Disney for a fun time with issues, with things that they're going through, life issues. And I think this is when I put the show together, I wanted to call it Beyond Clean, because you know what? We're not just the people that do the work that people see. We have lives, we have families, we are real people. So I think this is some of those other issues that are important.
Right. And, you know, and back to those folks that say, I don't have time, or it's not my job. When I get with those people, a lot of times I'll just pull them aside and I'll say, hey, how many students we got here in wheelchairs? I want you to think about this. If that kid had an opportunity to get out of that wheelchair and have a good attitude and do your job, do you think they would do it? Absolutely they would.
Oh, absolutely, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and feel fortunate that you're not carrying an oxygen tank around with you to you know, go somewhere. And you know, and kind of another angle to go with this whole thing is back to doing this for a long time. It's just a job. I've been doing this for 30 years. This industry is a lot different than it was almost 30 years ago when I first got in it. There was no such thing as an auto scrubber, and then even when they did come out, they still weren't near as good as they are today.
Oh man, I can remember pushing those heavy things. They didn't even have power drive. You had to push them.
That's right. You know, and then, you know, people laying floor finish, you know, this is an attitude thing. You know, are you going to, you know, really get that floor prepared to lay finish, or are you just going to throw some wax down and make a shiny, dirty floor and have paper clips in it and everything else? So, you know.
Michael, as you're talking about this, and this just came to my mind, it's a live show, folks, and when it hits my mind, it's got to come out of my mouth. But you know, I went to, and we had a class down in Lakeland, and this gentleman showed up, and he kept holding one arm under his coat and everything, and I couldn't figure out at first. And then I figured out that he had a prosthetic on. And when we went to working with the floor machine and doing the floor, he says, you know what? I think you're finally showing me that there's something I can do with one arm. And it was so great to see him being able to work with this. He had a physical disability. He wanted to do the work, and he just needed somebody to understand that and work with him. And I don't know, as an instructor, it just gave me a good sense and a feel. But, you know, I felt like how lucky I am that I don't have to deal with that every day.
All right, that gives me goosebumps. That's an awesome story. And I've had some handicapped folks too, and that's just awesome when we can help them be successful. So, yeah.
So I think, you know, we both have passion. I think I hear it in your voice. You've wrote your books, I've wrote mine. I'm going to speak about your books here in just a minute. But, you know, I think that what you've talked about is that, you know, all the way through, this is about building a portfolio for that custodian so that, you know, we're helping them, we're coaching them along this path that you and I've already went through. There wasn't anybody coaching us. And I think that's what we're trying to do now.
Right. And we could do a whole show on this, and maybe we will someday, but, you know, the whole interviewing process, you know, I always tell custodians, you need to think about who's interviewing you. It's usually a supervisor and or a principal. And then I say, well, who interviews? What people do principals interview? They interview teachers, well-educated teachers. And when you go in there looking like a dumb janitor with a baseball hat and a t-shirt and jeans, you've lived up to that stereotype as the dumb janitor.
Well, so I'm glad I put on my suit and tie for you today, Michael.
Wow, you did better than me.
Hey, all right. I wasn't trying to one-up you there.
But anyway, I teach in my classes, my Leadership Academy Module 3, we actually practice interviewing. We go over the typical answers and how a rock star custodian should answer. But one of the things we do is we teach them how to build a portfolio. And as you can see up there on your screen, you know, that's just kind of the insert of what's in that portfolio. And of course, you'll have your cover letters, resumes, those types of things, your training certificates. But the section that you can really set yourself apart from people is the communication and organization and the other. So the thing is, you know what? You're always going to be asked some typical questions. And I tell people you got to give either a verbal or a physical example when you're answering questions. And people look at me, are you crazy? What do you want me to get up and run an auto scrubber in the middle of the interview? No, I want you to turn into Vanna White. So real quickly, I'll give you one question that you're going to be asked no matter whether you're in Florida, Colorado, Ohio, Texas, or Minnesota. It doesn't matter. You're going to be asked, you know, what's your experience with custodial equipment? And what you typically get is, I can run a vacuum. I can run one of those Zamboni things. I don't know what the name of it is. But if you turn that portfolio, and I got one here real quick, I'll hold up. So if I take this and I say, if you open to tab 2 or whatever tab that might be, here's a comprehensive list turned into Vanna White of all the custodial equipment I've used in my career. So what you're doing is you're enticing them to look at this. And there's a great opportunity to show your organization skills. Those letters that I was talking about, the beginning of the year, end of the year letter, those all need to be in your portfolio. I don't need credit for it. I just want you to go out and represent our profession as a whole. So a portfolio is a great way to do that.
You know what? I mean, you know, I love what you're saying, Michael. I understand exactly why you and I are on the show together, because, you know, one of the things I say is part of that portfolio is the certifications that the Academy gives you to show that you've done due diligence, just like all of the other professionals that have their certifications for what they've done. And everybody says, well, you know, is it really valuable? It's not valuable if you don't use it.
That's right.
I think it's great. Michael, you know, we're going to have you back on the show again. Any parting words before I tell the audience about your books?
Hey, this is kind of what I said to somebody the other day. What I'm trying to do for all the Republicans out there is make custodial great again. For all the Democrats, I'm trying to create hope and change. So we get it all covered, and let's make custodial great.
It's a live show, folks. I didn't know we were bringing politics in it at the last end, but there you have it. It's been Michael Ward from Aurora Public Schools. Now, Michael published a book. He calls it a groundbreaking book called Who Swings Your Mop? Now, I got to tell you, Michael, we're going to have to talk about the mop, but, you know, anyway, he describes it as an original self-help book for custodians. Now, I also understand that you've got another one you published called the Ultimate Safety Handbook for School Custodians. And you're just like me. We're always, you know, hey, if you've been in this and you're passionate, you always got one in the works. But you're going to release a new one, the Ultimate Procedural Handbook for School Custodians. Hey, you know what? I need some copies here at our academy, so maybe we can use some of your material too.
You got it. I'll make sure you get it.
All right, so Mike's publications and all of his information that he's mentioned is on his website, whoswingsyourmop.com. Now, remember that, folks, whoswingsyourmop.com. I tell you what, I got to go and research a little bit more of it myself. I've done some. Now, here at the Academy of Cleaning Excellence, we have 5 campuses now. We're getting ready to sign up more. You can go to our website, academyofcleaning.com. There you'll find our live classes, online classes, and even one about our new master certification cruise to the Bahamas. Yes, folks, we're not staying in the building here in Orlando. We're going to cruise the Bahamas for that certification cruise. Just by the way, it's next February. You know, whenever you're going to have snow up there in Colorado, I'm going to be in the Bahamas.
Okay.
Anyway, we have the Facebook Academy page. If you are a person on Facebook, like and share our page. If you don't like Facebook, for those entrepreneurs out there that are on LinkedIn, we have a great Academy LinkedIn page. We keep all of our stuff up there, a lot of things. We even had our show for what we're doing today. Now, if you're in the cleaning industry and that's your cup of tea, we're going to make our annual trip to the ISSA convention here just shortly. It's going to be in Vegas starting September the 11th through the 14th. Now, for the first time ever, the Academy of Cleaning Excellence will be there at booth 408. I want you to come by and visit us. We've got something that's interactive and a game we want you to play when you come to the booth. You got to come and find out there. I'm not going to tell you about it here. Now, some people have been asking me for, meeting times with me while I'm on the showroom floor. It gets busy and hectic for all of us. I've got a calendar. Check that out. Go to the calendar. Schedule some time with me while I'm on the showroom floor. Now, next Friday, my speaker is going to come into the studio live with me. Mr. Santiago is going to be talking to us about issues in the workplace and how we should deal with them. You know what? It's beyond clean. It's not about cleaning toilets, it's about how we do our work. So, right here, Friday afternoons, live. I'll be right back with you next Friday. I'm Dave Thompson. Keep changing your future. Keep those changes healthy, positive, and proactive. And remember my mantra, I am a janitor and I save lives. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us, Michael.
Thank you.
Well, I hope we're out.